Hello, my name is Henry Barajas, and I am a Latinx author. I'm based in Los Angeles, but I'm from Tucson, Arizona. Normally, this weekend, I'd be packing my bags, getting all my con stuff, all my shirts and books, and all my merchandise, and getting really excited and ready to spend the weekend in San Francisco at the San Francisco Library. Also, just downtown, meeting people that I've now become friends with, and meeting new comics fans at BCAF. But unfortunately, and fortunately, we can do this virtually and continue the important conversations and further Black and Brown comics creators. I am very fortunate to host this panel that I made up, and I'm excited to see some friends that I normally would see once or twice a year on the road at various comic book conventions. But here's my first panelist. You might know her in your Sunday newspaper. Let's get Professor Steenz on.
Hello, hello.
Hello, my crawdad buddy in crime.
That's right.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind just introducing yourself to everybody.
Yep. Great. So my name is Steenz. I am a cartoonist and professor and editor. I'm the cartoonist on the syndicated comic strip Heart of the City, which you can read on gocomics.com or in your local newspaper. I also edit comics. I have done editing for Lion Forge and for Bedside Press and for Mad Cave Studios. And I also teach cartooning at Webster University.
Hence Professor Steenz.
Hence the professor.
And we're going to bring in another cartoonist, someone that I admire and deeply respect, Ezra Clayton Daniels. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, what do you call it when you have two Dwayne McDuffie award winners in the same room?
Whoa!
Oh my goodness. I don't know. What do you call
amazing.
that? You call it like killing it, like absolutely just murdering the game is what you call it.
If you could please introduce yourself, Ezra, to our viewers.
Sure, I'm Ezra Clayton Daniels. I wrote and illustrated a book called Upgrade Soul a couple years ago, and I wrote a book called Bottom Feeders that was illustrated by Ben Passmore last year, and I'm currently a writer on Doom Patrol for HBO Max.
Wow. That's such an impressive resume.
It really is, like so good.
Yep. Let's just close it down. Ezra, no, I'm kidding. Thank you for joining us. And we also have one more amazing panelist, someone that I have I got to know on the road, someone's comic love Jules that I really started enjoying as she shared on Facebook and Twitter. But now she is another Sunday Funny cartoonist. Give it up for Jules Rivera, everyone.
Why, hello, everyone. Hi.
What do you call it when you have two Sunday Funny cartoonists in the same room?
I know, it's wild.
A National Cartoonist Society meeting?
That's right. See you at the Rubens.
What's up, man?
Hey, Jules. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Henry. What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Are we still NoHo neighbors or no? Did you?
Only until the end of the month.
Okay. Cool.
Because I'm doing the same thing everybody else in LA is doing, which is running screaming from LA because Los Angeles is freaking terrifying right now. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, the most dangerous place to be, I think, is what I read.
Yeah, so I'm just all my friends are hiding inside because of all the corona crazy and the racists running wild, and I'm like, I don't need this. It's not that there's racists everywhere, it's just there's just gonna be surprise pockets of racists that just kind of pop up out of nowhere. That's the scary kind. You don't like that.
Yeah, those are the worst.
Yeah, no, I lived in Florida long enough to know you like your racists nice and in the open where you can see them. That's why I'm like, cool, keep your Confederate sticker flag. It means I can find you.
Yeah, they're pretty good at hiding out here.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, Jules, just introducing yourself to all our amazing viewers, our millions and millions all over the world.
Vast scores of viewers. So many of all of you here for the BCAF. Yeah, hi. So I'm Jules Rivera. I am the artist for a comic that I started a couple of years called Love Jules, and here's the latest book, which Facebook reminded me I just finished up about a year ago. I'm still working on the next book, Apocalypse Garden, but obviously it's been a little bit tricky because I live in a terrifying war zone. It's real tricky to create when everything around you is scary. So besides that, I also have a other books coming out. I have a sci-fi book coming out actually next month, February 16th. Ow! It drops pretty soon. It's called 200. This is an advanced reader copy.
Nice.
And yeah, this is a really fun sci-fi story that's about, in a world where we've defeated death and disease, the human mind can live forever, but then the human mind starts breaking down at age 200. So when 200 rolls around, you have to go get tested for your 200th birthday. And we're following this one character through her 200 test.
Wow.
And it gets cray. There are lots of let's see, some tasing going on. Let's see, some what else? Lots of abuse of the color pink. What else? Let's see.
You're also Mark Trail's daddy.
I am Mark Trail's daddy, homie man. Here, this is what I've got immediately on hand. But yes, this is I draw Mark Trail. This is also my social media stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll watch this again. But yeah, basically, I took over this Sunday strip. It's called, well, not Sunday. It's all week because I have to draw 7 strips in a week. Wow. It's hard. So yeah, I am Mark Trail's dad. Mark Trail is an environmentalist strip that's been a thing ever since 1947, and I took it over recently. And we're just about wrapping up the first story arc, and I think everyone's been like, the people who want to receive something new and fresh and exciting. I feel like I delivered. They got what they needed. Like, did you want to see Mark Trail punch Mark Trail? I made it happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And one of the I've been hosting these Latinx panels at random conventions, and a lot of people are always very interested to hear that there aren't a lot of people like us or people of color in publishing, or they don't know that's a problem. And one of the things is this is something I've always battled with my entire life, is never being brown enough, either for my family or for in publishing. And writing my first graphic novel, La Voz de Mayo, there was always people that were surprised to see that natives and Mexicans aren't really on the shelves. So what I basically just want to talk about, how does this challenge you? Is this a challenge? And how do you navigate that through your life and your arts? And we'll start with Steenz and then go through to Ezra and Jules. Steenz, is that something that you've been wrestling with through your family, being such a vocal K-pop fan? I'm sure you're not that's not something that your family could relate to you.
Well, actually, they can. My family has always been very open to a lot of different cultures that aren't white people. My parents actually met in Japan, and they put me in a Japanese immersion school growing up. So my first schooling was that of a Japanese school child, which is really interesting to grow up with, especially considering, I am not Japanese. But I don't know. I always think about when it comes to our work, what people expect from the work and the work that you actually create. So many people are wanting to get those own voices, super identity focused comics, which I love. I read them. I enjoy them. I just don't personally want to make them. That's one of the things that I've always kind of been on the fence about, is I don't want to talk about, the racist stuff that goes on in my life because I'm living it. I don't want to draw it and then think about it twice as much because I'm drawing it too. There's no separation. I kind of wanted to get away from that. And I get that idea of like, why do you always want me to talk about Black shit? It only comes from white people. You know, like if I write, you know, a story about, you know, this, like my last story, Receiving Transmissions, which was just a sci-fi romance horror story. Um, it had nothing to do with like identity. It was really just about, you know, knowing that something is always going to be out there and they're going to be looking out for you. And I never had anyone ask me like, so like, why is it that, you know, the characters were Black, or why is it that, you know, this was what you did? You know, I didn't get those questions from other Black people or other people of color. I only got that from white people. So my mind right now is thinking the only time that I ever think about, am I doing the right thing for a Black artist, is when it comes to how I'm being seen by white readers or white editors or white publishers, you know? So on the one hand, you know, I feel pretty comfortable in my own skin now as, you know, 30 years old. But it's not because of, I think it's only because I am not listening to that anymore. I'm not listening to, you know, white people telling me what my work needs to be about. You know, I'm just kind of doing what I like. And what I like is manga and, you know, superhero comics and Alien, you know? So I want to be able to be fully immersed in my interests without having to always tie it back to my race, because why are you doing that? You know? So
Got
I don't
it.
know if I answered your question.
No, that's definitely the idea of the panel. And Ezra, I know you identify as white and Black. Has that been something that you've had to wrestle with your entire life, or have you been? I've met your family or your mom and dad at BCAF, and they seem adjusted people, unlike my parents. So how was that dealing? How was that growing up, or at least growing into being more comfortable with yourself?
Man, this is such a deep panel. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin.
I know, I'm like sweating. Like I'm gonna
I
say something
know.
so bad. Someone's gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, well, she is a really bad Black person, actually."
Well, I used to do stand up, and one of my jokes was I'm a terrible Mexican because I have car insurance. So I was always clowning on myself. So, you know, whenever someone finds that and shows those videos, I'm sure I'm done with Ernest.
Well,
I
when
figure-
cancel culture comes around, I'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, right.
Please don't. Just let me die in the dark.
Well, to answer your question, like my racial identity has been like a constantly fraught thing, and it's constantly evolving as I get old.
Oh, did he pause?
I think he paused. Yeah.
I hope this is not interpretive dance.
That's fine. We'll keep it. We'll return to Ezra. Jules, is this? I know you had mentioned that you are, that you are not the typical Latina, and I'm sure
That's the scary thing. Yes, I am. I was just talking about this to a friend of mine earlier. Because I was just, I think I was, I don't know, something came up with you know, Puerto Ricans and comics and stuff. By the way, I'm Puerto Rican. What is a Puerto Rico? It's that crappy little island right next to Florida where everybody's racist and mean to each other. What? Am I gonna act like we're nice? What? Go, you want some nice points? Bitch, earn it. Anyway, yeah. By the way, anybody worried about offending their own people, there's no way you're gonna top me on this panel. I am coming in hot. So, for the people who used to say, Jules, you're not brown enough. I'm like, I'm not brown enough, or are you stupid? Anyway, so that's why I made Love Jules. I made Love Jules because it's just me. And the fact that, yeah, I mean, Latina stuff gets into it because, here, let me see if I can find the actual title card for the Being Latina chapter. I mean, like, see, I'll just write dumb sci-fi stuff like, here's a joke about Star Trek and Latinas and butts. Because it is my belief that the OG Orion slave girls are basically just Latinas coded. I'm like, guys, I know what I'm looking at. I know what this is. it just finds its way into my work because it's just the happenstance of being me. I'm not going to walk around going like, what am I going to do? Tell people I'm white? Someone's going to figure it out.
Yeah,
So-
I kind of, I do definitely agree with Jules on how it's a part of your work because you are who you are, like
Yeah.
when people say like, oh, or is this a black comic? Like, yes, because I made it and I'm black,
I'm
so
flavored.
that, I don't know. I think
Welcome to the experience.
That is something that, yeah, we all definitely have to cope with is
we got Ezra back. Sorry to cut you off there.
Hey guys, I don't know what's wrong with my internet. It's usually so good. But I was just gonna second what Steenz was saying, which is that the only time I've ever like heard this like accusation of being not black enough, which I totally get. Like I'm like white passing in some circles depending on what the lighting is, and I totally like if I've got like a primo table at a black comic convention, I totally understand people being like, "What's that cracker doing sitting over there at this table?" But I feel like those accusations typically only come from, like Steenz was saying, white people who don't actually know that blackness looks a lot of different ways, or black people who also don't have a vast experience of like people outside of their community or whatever their tight circle is. Like, but this idea that like black people or Latinx people don't like Star Trek is just like, have you ever met a black or brown person? Like,
exactly.
It's like mind-boggling
to
me when that comes up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Things.
So I think it's coming from this like really narrow place of like limited experience for the most part. So I try not to take it personally, but I will say that like nothing hurts me more than to be excluded from black community. Like that's like if I like walk into a black coffee shop or something in my neighborhood and get like a weird look, like it'll stick with me for like a week. Like it just like hurts me so much. But I do feel like the more successful I get, the less people exclude me from those spaces. So like, like if I like, especially like at like black comic conventions, like the first time I did a black show was like several years ago. I did a MechaCon show, and that was a show where like people like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, who the fuck is this guy? But then once I put out my book and people knew who I was, they're like, oh, like, okay, I was just representing blackness. I was like, okay.
Blackness confirmed.
It's really interesting that you talk about, our interest in Star Trek, because it reminds me of, in so many pieces of media, you have all these different kinds of archetypes. You've got the nerd who likes to like play D&D, and then you've got like the horse girl, which I guess nowadays are super Hulakians, but then there's always this one section that I'm always so mad I never see, and it's like black dudes who watch anime. Like,
oh, and black DBZ guys especially.
Yes. And it's like, it's wild to me that, you get sometimes from like your family, like, oh, why are you reading that? Why are you reading that manga? Like, don't you want to read stuff by your own people? Like, that sort of thing is like, do you even see who else is reading this? Like, look at all of us. You are wearing a polyester button-down DBZ shirt, and this sort of like everyone knows one.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in middle school, we used to do Dragon Ball Z fan fiction in a book and pass it around and draw our characters. And I went to like a prominently black middle school, and that's how I got introduced to it.
Yeah. So that's why I think it's really interesting when people always talk about like what's black enough, what's white stuff. It's like, well, this is all based off of your perception and who you're around and what you watch, and that's what colors your ideas of what people need to be making and what kind of people should be interested in what. Because if you look with your eyes, you know that that's not the case.
No, definitely. I mean, there's also that. I mean, something that I've had to deal with growing up was always just have to undo the racism that even my own people, Mexican people, have and it's within my family. I mean, I'm going to speak more towards my family. I don't want to like put that all on Mexican people.
All of Mexico.
All of Mexico. But Mexican Americans, there's this weird anti-blackness and also anti-Mexican once you're on this side, they never speak very favorably of people that are trying to get back and trying to come in.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe, is that something that everyone's had to deal with as well, like trying to undo what your racist family has put on you?
I think it depends. It's kind of hard because, like, while, my family is Black, I did hear, why you listen to that white music. Sorry, alt pop punk is my shit. Okay, I would die for Haley Williams, but like, then I also think about where I grew up. I grew up in like the St. Louis suburbs, so most of my friends are white because that's where we lived. So I actually had the problem of wanting to do right by my family, who's like, hang out with Black people, and then also being like, but where are they? I wish I could. Like, obviously I had, Black friends in high school and stuff, but like, they were just so surprised that some of my best friends were white. And I'm like, why are you surprised when we live where we live, So, I know, Ezra was talking a little bit about, your own experiences. And if you grew up in a certain area, your experience may not all be the same. I was reading something similar earlier today, actually, where someone was like, it's really harmful when you say to someone like, oh, you don't know this Black thing? That's crazy. You're Black. Why don't you know it? And it's like, well, if you talk to me as a person, you'd know this isn't the life that I grew up with, So when it comes to unlearning anything, I don't think I'm really unlearning anything. I think for me, it was mostly trying to figure out if I can be the right kind of Black person for my family, but also the right kind of Black person for myself at the same time. So, and I think now that I'm out of the high school bubble, because man, when you're in a high school bubble, it's a bubble. I can definitely, I feel like it's much easier to be like, man, whatever. Like, I like what I like. I am who I am. I'm not doing anything to like prove myself to anyone besides myself, Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, something that I've always been told is I'm never Mexican enough, or because I don't speak Spanish fluently, I can, when I hear it, I can understand it. But
yeah,
I've been developing a book that's set in a fantasy, but set in the Mesoamerican, like Aztec world, and learning that my people didn't know Spanish; they knew Nahuatl and like spoke a whole different tongue that was stamped out of history.
Thank you. Can I just jump in here? Sorry. Spanish is a colonizer language. It came from Spain. Spanish people are white people. That's why when everyone, because I'm the same as Henry, where I was also brought up in the suburban neighborhoods, and also like Steenz in the suburban neighborhoods. Although in Orlando, Florida, there was a suburban Hispanic community, so there's that.
That's great.
But no, it's not.
Well,
no,
I mean, there's that thing that, like, at least for my family, they tried to emulate whiteness to show, that they thought that was the level of success.
I come from a whole ass crew of sympathizers. In fact, in my family, it's not. Oh no, but for reals though. I mean, in my family, it's not a question of whether I'm brown enough. It's that I'm too brown. Oh no, because I'm like, oh, I've connected with this brownness. It's great. I don't think I need to hang, I guess prize whiteness or, put whiteness on a pedestal. Yeah. I don't need to put whiteness on a pedestal. They don't even know how to dance. They need sunscreen. Come on. Like,
you should put sunscreen on your face though, because it's really helpful for
I put sunscreen too. Everybody should put sunscreen. But like, they need a lot of sunscreen, like the hard sun, like the real ass sunscreen. Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, so I mean, but that's the thing. If you're in East Orlando, people will give you crap about not knowing Spanish. And I actually ended up learning a little bit of conversational Spanish enough to work retail in East Orlando, because I worked at the most Puerto Rican Best Buy in the galaxy. And, when I have a Spanish-speaking customer in there and they show up, they see this face literally from the pages of La Borinqueña showing up going, ¿Cómo le puedo ayudar? I mean, that's all you can say. Just get in there and talk. I mean, I feel like I've had an unfair expectation placed on me to learn Spanish because of this brown, but at the same time, I can speak Spanish now. It's cool. If I want to talk sexy talk in Spanish, all I got to do is say yoga in Spanish. Arriba sus brazos. I mean, see? Easy. There. I'm instantly hotter. There. Done. It's about taking what's already there, which is, okay, colonizer language, and putting it in perspective of, okay, it is a colonizer language, just like English, except it's cuter and sexier. But it's not like, oh my God, if I don't know them, I'm not connected to my people. I'm just like, they didn't freaking speak it either when the Spanish first showed up, so who cares?
Yeah.
No, definitely. So I guess we're entering this new, time of 2021, and there is such a huge emphasis last year of the Black Lives Matter movement, and having seen a lot of like amazing comics come out throughout the last couple of years, do you feel like it's a responsibility? And I know, Steenz, you touched on this, where you're trying to avoid that, but
yeah, absolutely not. I think it's because there is enough. I mean, like, honestly, if someone was like, I want to read a book that really talks about, like, the nuances of, gentrification, I will point them to Bottom Feeders. I will not make my own, like, I don't know. I think for me, I'm one of those people where my goal is to be the great connector, be more of an educator than an actual. I mean, I like creating, obviously, but I think one of the things that matters more to me is to be like, oh, well, if you're looking for this sort of information, let me point you to this, 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 and this. I don't feel like I have to be the one to actually create it, that could just be the librarian in me. But I think sometimes I think it's more important to have those kinds of people that have that knowledge to be like, this is who you need to go for that. This is who you need to go through for that, because that makes it a lot easier for people who want to learn. And I don't know. I just I'm an Aquarius moon, so I'm very soft on the inside. So I don't really want to think about things that are difficult. So I don't.
There.
Yeah.
Ezra, have you got that out of your system, or
No.
Oh,
Upgrade Soul's a lot about identity,
You've
and
got
Bottom
like
Feeders,
60,
about
70, 80 more years of this. I mean, and if we get like cryo sleep, like organized and like actually like made, like I feel like millennials might be the first people to like extend their lives through cryo sleep. Anyway, if we have that though, I think you should really get into that. So, because I know it takes you a long time to write books.
Wow, I'm just getting shaded.
I'm sorry.
I thought
had
this was
to.
a safe space. Wow.
But I do want to see more stuff from you, because your stuff is just like perfect. It's so good.
Thank you. Well, Steenz is right. My last book took me 15 years to finish. But that was because I had a day job and I was doing all this other stuff. But I've been so productive through 2020 because I like cope with trauma and stress by just like burying myself in work. So I've been lucky in that regard. But what was you're talking about the responsibility that we feel or don't feel to address these issues in our work. I feel a really strong responsibility to address stuff, because I feel like, specifically because of my background as a mixed race person, I feel like I can speak whiteness to white people.
Good, yes, true. That's an important skill, though.
It totally is, and I feel like it's like I feel like if I'm ever, like, any platform that I'm lucky enough to have, I feel like it's my responsibility to use that platform to try to make the world a better place. And I think because of the lightness of my skin, I'm able to provoke a lot more than my darker skin relatives. And I think that, and there's also an element of just like this, like, I'm sure there's a term for it, I don't know what it is, but there's a total thing where light-skinned Black people are like the wildest. Like politically too, like Malcolm X, like Jesse, what's that guy's name? Jesse
Jackson?
No, the light-skinned dude with the green eyes who's always trying to
from
Grey's
the video
Anatomy.
game. Jason Williams.
Yeah, Jesse Williams. But it's a total thing. It's like And
It
I
is
think
a
part of
thing.
it comes from this, like, I can get into a room full of white people and make a bunch of noise, and I can get away with it because they're not afraid of me or whatever, in the same way that they are like the darker guy who's sitting next to me. And I feel like I acknowledge that, and I am aware of that, and I think that's why it's been so interesting and like eye-opening for me recently to be able to like acknowledge and sort of embrace a mixed identity, because before I was able to do that, and I saw myself as being like black but broken, or like black with an asterisk, like I'm black but I'm white because my mom's white, and like blah 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 blah. Now that I'm just like, I'm mixed, it allows me to acknowledge the privilege I have because of my proximity to whiteness, and allows me to weaponize that against whiteness. Whereas before I was just like, I don't really know where I stand. And I think like having that revelation has allowed me to like position my work in a much more intentional place. So like the political nonfiction comics I do, like for the Nib and shit like that, it's specifically designed to communicate radical black politics to my problematic white relatives, because I know how they think and I know how to communicate to them.
Can I ask you a question?
Boop.
Yeah.
When would you say that you figured this out for yourself, or do you think it was a slow, gradual change, or do you think there was a certain moment where you're just like, I'm a fucking double agent, like
Exactly. Yes.
like was it acute or was it gradual?
I think it was pretty acute, but I think a lot of it just had to do with like the conversation around it. I think like identifying as mixed has been like really frowned upon for a long time. Like I think a lot of people in the Black community subscribe to the one drop rule. Like if you have any blackness in you, you are black. And if you identify as anything else, then it's an attempt to put yourself closer to whiteness. But it's absolutely not, for me, to identify as mixed has nothing to do with putting myself closer to whiteness. If I have to choose sides, 100% I'm choosing black, and I'm taking up arms against these whites. But if I recognize, like I said, if I recognize that proximity, then it allows me to just like I said, weaponize it.
Yeah,
I can relate. I used to work defense, and work around big military dudes, Marines and types, like the Donald Rumsfeld types of the world. I was just thinking about Donald Rumsfeld just a couple minutes ago. Oh God, why was I doing that? Gross. Anyway, it is true that when you occupy these spaces and you learn these guys' language and you learn what their little triggers and tics are, you can speak to them in a way that kind of hits them, because when they see this face, they're like, oh no, alien face, she's coming to stab me. And I'm like, but what if I didn't stab you? What if I just stabbed you with knowledge? And if I put on the white guy voice, like, hi, Regency Orlando International Airport, this is your operator, Juliana, speaking. How may I direct your call? Like, if I start putting on that shit, then they're like, wait a minute. and then the brainwaves get through. It is important. I agree with Steenz in being a bridge, because the only way is white people are ever going to learn. Like, look, like, okay, you are lost. Let me just grab you by the scruff of your neck and just guide you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm a little more forceful in my teachings, because literally all of Love Jules is hurting people with the truth. And in the case of this particular book, and also brandishing my ass. Also, I mean, but my point is, all of everything I do is about that education. It's about kind of reaching in and getting through the brainwaves and going, hey guys, this is the thing that's stupid. Here's how we make it better, because I'm able to hack your software in a way that's just you didn't expect. Just case in point, just a question of where are you from? Because usually white people ask you that when they see your alien face and they're like wondering, wow, what flavor of racism to use on you? Yeah. Like, what are you? Oh no! I just came up with a comic that was just like, okay, if you are asked this question and you want to just flip the script on the person in the question and let them know this is a dumb question, you need to be not asking me this crap, just download a metronome app on your phone and just start ticking it off. Be like, here we go. Tick, 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 to stop the conversation dead. Where are you from? I'm going to put this out here till you come up with something smarter to say. Like, oh! And that's just a nightmare that nobody expects, but it will absolutely stick with someone till the end of their days. It's just about hurting them in the way that they learn.
See, I think the way that I do it is I reel people in with the funny comics, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait.
See, you get him the cute way. I get him the stabby way. I have literal knives in my logo. I can't put that away. That's just who I am. We stabby.
Well, I think this is a good place to leave it at the stabby point. So,
great point to end it on.
We'll start with Steenz. Steenz, if you please just talk about what's coming out, what you're excited about, or where we can find you on the internet.
You can find me on the internet at Oh Hey Steenz. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. What's coming up? Well, Heart of the City is an ongoing daily comic, so there will always be comics of mine to read until I die. So
yes,
it's actually. I mean,
that's the contract you signed.
Hell yeah, it's a great contract. Just hang on to it forever. Never
actually,
let it go.
So small thing when it comes to syndicated comics. Jules, you probably know this. Most of those comics started off as 10-year comics. Or 10-year contracts.
Wow.
And they just recently started making them shorter because people were getting scared by a 10-year contract.
10 years really long. So, like my contract with Mark Trail is a little bit short starting off, but they'll make it a little bit longer chunks going forward. They're not getting rid of me. I'm too good at my job. What are you gonna do? Trade me in? Come on.
We're in now. We're not.
I gave you Mark Trail hitting Mark Trail. Who's topping that?
So yes, if my comic is nationally syndicated, so you can find it and read it. Also, actually, in 2023, give or take, I have a graphic novel coming out called Side Quest. It is a graphic novel history of tabletop role-playing games. It is also part memoir, so me and my co-writer Sam Satin will also be walking you through not just the history of games, but how we got into gaming and how you can get into gaming as well. So 2023-ish.
That sounds awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ezra, where can we get you? Oh,
I was going to say, it's especially good if you don't like tabletop role-playing games. Because I actually... I enjoy them, but I don't really care about them. I care about comics. I care about sci-fi. Tabletop role-playing games, I could leave it or take it. But that's one of the things that I do talk about in the book, is that you can still be interested in something and not want to devote your life to it, and it can still give you something from it. So anyway, that's what I got.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And Ezra?
I am on all social medias at Ezra C. Daniels. I don't have any comic books coming out that I don't have any comic books coming out anytime soon, but hopefully in the next few years I'll have something come out. But season 3 of Doom Patrol, I think, comes out sometime this year. So, my first episode of television will be in that season. I think so. You'll be able to watch that. Yeah,
exciting. But we can still find, your award-winning work at libraries and comic book stores and bookstores, definitely. And Jules, I know you're a daily artist as well, so where can we find you?
Okay, you can find Mark Trail on www.comicskingdom.com. You can see him daily. You come on Sundays, you're going to learn something about science, because that's Science Sundays. That's what's up. I just finished a really great one about crickets. You're going to love it. Coming out next month, February 2/16, 200. You better get it. It's literally my best book ever. I mean, you want a book of my artwork covered in flowers, just barf all over the place. Just, you need it, all right? All the flowers, the best settings I've ever drawn are in this book. Get 200, February 16th, from Turner Publishing. If you want to find me on social media, I am on Twitter at Jules Rivera. On Instagram, I'm at love.jules. You can find me at www.julesrivera.com. If you want to find the Love Jules graphic novel, that will also be on my website, www.julesrivera.com. I'm around. I'm very noisy. Come find me.
Thank you. And I'm Henry Barajas. You can find me at Henry Barajas. La Voz de Mayo is at your local comic book store, bookshop, at the Smithsonian bookshop or book gift shop. And I got a new series coming out in April titled Helm Greycastle #1. And I just want to thank everyone. It's so good to see everyone here. I can't wait to see you at a con in the near future. And I really appreciate everybody watching. BCAF, San Francisco Public Library, shout out to them. And happy MLK Day, everyone.
Yay!
Happy MLK
Thanks, Henry.
Day. Love
Thank
it.
you.